Good morning, all of you. Yes, what we were discussing, what was the last point yesterday? Yes, value conflicts. Have you done the assignment? Hmm? Yes, what all values that you have identified? Hmm? Okay, yes. Communal versus secular. Communal versus secular as a value. Achievement versus earning, learning. Learning is a means to achievement in today's world. Okay, fine. Materialistic sense, you can say that. Okay, I'll incorporate that point some other way. Hmm? Yes? Survival versus? Okay, fine. और बताइए some obvious values. Competition versus fairness. That can be this competition. There can be a healthy competition also again. Okay. Yeah, conflict in a sense. Okay, fine. और बताओ. Hmm? Religion versus science. Okay, ठीक है. Rationality, you can say that. Certain dogmas. Okay. Rationality. Yes. What else? That's it. Nobody has found or identified the values, conflicting values. Huh? Rich versus poor. Values. Values. See, value means rich and poor is an attribute of an person. You can say that. Extremism and moderation. I can put capitalism versus socialism. Capitalism versus socialism. Or you can put merit versus affirmative action. Merit versus social justice, affirmative action. Social justice, or in bracket, affirmative action. It's traditional versus modernity. There are numerous values. Traditional values or traditional values versus modern values. Here, there can be many things. Say, for example, Khaf Panchayat, okay, which is reflected, okay, and then there are modern values. Then you have, see, this also can be clubbed here. That is traditional values which are governed by the religious precepts or religious dogmas. What else you can think? What? Terrorism versus, okay. Terrorism versus humanity. Technology versus, okay. Okay, fine. Human versus machine or mechanization. Regionalism versus nationalism. Yes, very good. Patriotism versus nationalism. Who is there? What's the difference between patriotism and nationalism? Bada is there a patriotism versus nationalism? What is nationalism and what is patriotism? Wait, wait. Hmm?
Basically Latin, as we are as a nation,
Hmm.
patriotism is like कि भाई कोई कुछ भी कर रहा है
तो उसको नहीं patriotism बोलते. Patriotism is a benign form. Patriotism versus jingoism, you can write. हाँ, लिखा है ना यहाँ पे. Religion, okay. Yes. Hmm? Yes. That's important one. Realism versus idealism. Development versus or growth versus social justice. Development versus environmentalism or environment. See, these are the points of debates. Then monarchy versus democracy, or the ugly form of monarchy is dictatorship versus democracy. Okay, that's it. Any other value if you? Okay. Cooperation versus conflict or competition. Individual versus collectivism. Individual, this is important value. Individualism versus collectivism. This is in case of terrorism versus globalism. Here you can write universalism also. Or it's Nash. Yes. That we have discussed. Okay, let me write here. Relativism versus absolutist. Now, now why we are discussing this for a reason. Most of the ethics and the morals are being shaped by the values that you uphold. The attempt to find out what are the conflicting values is to see that ethics also, corresponding ethics is also different from different group of people. Now, many of the values in this, one of the values, say for example, let's take an example of religion and traditional versus modern. Like if here we take the Khaf Panchayat and modern values based upon constitution or on the legal basis, legal constitutional values. Now some of the values come totally in conflict with, and one of both values cannot coexist simultaneously. Okay, in case of Khap Panchayat, like honor killing is there because marrying in the same Gotra is considered as a wrong practice. Now, if you see this with respect to the constitution, okay, with respect to legal values, so obviously there is no sanctity for all such values. Okay, so many of the traditional values, okay, come in conflict with the modern values. Can you identify some of the values which are traditional and customary in nature, which come in conflict with? Triple talaq, that comes in conflict with Article 14, 15. Then temple entry, okay, these are the customary and traditional practices that women should not enter into the temple. That come against in conflict with the Article 14, 15, Article 21, okay, generally. Then LGBTs, okay, that is again a traditional and customary not to like think towards them in a more isolated manner, pathological manner, okay. And then you see modern constitutional values. Then untouchability, okay. So here there are issues with regard to women, okay, triple talaq and polygamy and etc. Then in case temple entry, with respect to untouchability, with respect to LGBT, and there are various issues with respect to freedom of speech and expression also. So these this has no sanctity in contemporary time if you compare with the modern constitutional and legal basis. In modern and constitutional legal basis, both cannot coexist together, and therefore one should go. So you will get this kind of things in elsewhere also, like in case of terrorism and humanism also. Some value is almost undesirable, and something is only a desirable value. There are some values which can coexist. Okay, there are certain values here which can coexist together. Now, those values, either of them is absolutely redundant and it should not continue. Okay, that is for the Supreme Court and the government through the different verdict and through the laws, okay, and the law enforcement agencies to stop such values to get mainstreamed, okay, or to have a conflict with them. But there are other values which can coexist together, okay, which can coexist together, like capitalism and socialism. In certain cases, development and environment, you cannot say either of the two will only be there. Like in case of, what is the issue there? When I write development and social justice, what is the conflicting values there? Hmm? Huh. Inequality. Here we have defined when I say this development and social justice. Here I am defining the development in a very narrow manner. Okay, that is the development of a yes upper class, or for that matter, the capitalist mode of development. Okay, wherein there is a gap between the rich and poor is increasing. So in that regard, you have to think about the some socialistic measure to think about the people who are at the bottom of the pyramid. So and the second also very close to that, environment and development. So some of the environmentalists may think that environment is very important, and therefore the cutting of the forest and etc. Okay, should not be there. But on the other side, development people will say that there is a lot of poverty and so on and so forth. So therefore, cutting of the forest is required. Now think of both are extreme in orientation. So extreme environmentalists will think that there cannot be, or if you go through the extreme environmentalism, development will not be possible. If you go through extreme development and without any importance to the environment, then again there are issues like climate change and other issues of environment. Now this is the case. So some of the values where we need to balance the equation. In such cases, you are supposed to not like take in one stand, but obviously try to find out certain balanced approach. Like balanced approach here is sustainable development. Okay, balanced approach is principle of equity, like growth versus development, that is human development index, etc. So when development plus social justice are combined, we have a inclusive growth sort of concepts, or development which is measured on the basis of not only GDP but on the basis of human development index, which incorporates the social indices also. So that here the answer is inclusive development should be the value. Here the answer is sustainable development should be the value, so on and so forth. Now there are, so these are the two category, like in one value should exist, another should not exist, and here you have to balance the both. Now there are third category of values wherein balance is also not possible and both values are also desirable. Like the values with respect to different religion, okay, religion 1 and religion 2. Now religion 1 and religion 2, like say for example certain rituals and customary practices which are not against the constitution and legal fundamental rights, okay, because one of the fundamental rights itself is a freedom of religion, article 25, 26, 27, 28. So each religion has their right. So long as it is not impinging upon the other fundamental rights and the individual freedom, every